Congressman, any reaction to Kristi Noem removing the hate symbol designation from the swastika, the noose, and the Confederate flag from Coast Guard?
Well, I mean, I'm being informed about this right now from you, but you know, once I look into it, that's shocking. A swastika is one of the most clear, definitional, and most violent symbols of hatred in all of humanity, let alone in the United States. And so to remove that from designation per these reports that you're informing me of is quite shocking, and it indicates a possible collaboration with those very elements, which is, I think, genuinely frightening to any American.
Our opening clip was New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez pointing out that if the U.S. Coast Guard says Nazi symbols, we're not going to ban them, that is obviously a big red flag. And thank you for all the public outcry that forced them to reverse that decision. Even making that decision in the first place confirms yet again the MAGA gang are actual Nazis. We are fighting World War III, only this time it's on U.S. soil, and the Russian fascists poured gasoline on our homegrown fascists to create this national fire. In this recording, I wanted to share my overall feelings on where we go from here, because I have the absolute faith in the people of America, many whose families defeated the Nazis in World War II, who defeated the traitors of the Confederacy, and to those Americans who only recently joined the American family as citizens, or simply live here, or you're from somewhere else, somewhere abroad, or you're watching from abroad and desperately want to see the American people succeed in liberating ourselves from this terror, not only for ourselves, of course, but the world. I want to just reassure you all, I have faith in the people, absolute faith. We are in the fight of our lives, and more are waking up to that fact, getting involved. I've studied resistance movements, and again, resistance fighters who were just regular people reported that they had something in them, an inner light that came out. It even surprised themselves. In tough times like these, a higher mind takes over and helps us join our lights together to overcome the darkness. I wanted to share with you a clip from last week's Salon. It shares my thoughts on where I think we need to go as a country, and it also shares commentary on my interview with the great E. Jean Carroll, which a lot of listeners had questions about, even sparking debate. For those who were not at last Monday's Salon, we recorded it soon after my interview with E. Jean Carroll, so it captures the raw emotions I felt from that discussion. If you're on Patreon, you can watch the full recording there. We meet on Mondays at 4 p.m. Eastern over Zoom. You can find the links and the recordings of the previous week's Salons every Monday on Patreon. Thank you to everyone who supports the show. See you all at the Gaslit Nation Salon. I'm very excited. Now, here are my comments from last Monday, shortly after my interview with E. Jean Carroll. It was also very gut-wrenching to talk to her because, you know, my whole sister's story and how my sister had to relocate to Australia and all the hell you've heard on this show of like what my sister's family obviously mostly went through. But and so like talking to E. Jean Carroll, like I saw that same, I don't know what the word is. I'll put it to you this way because I truly believe that art helps us find our voices in these atrocities. My father-in-law, when he was telling me about the 6 years he spent as a political prisoner in a communist prison in Romania for trying to lead an uprising as a 20-year-old medical student, he told me that story through Tosca, through Puccini's Tosca. Like I was listening to Puccini's Tosca. We were singing, this song in prison. Like he did it all through art. So I'll tell you what I'm trying to say through art. Agnieszka Holland, who is the director of Mr. Jones, all of her films are focused on the individual against the machine. And you see how the machine tries to break the individual and how the individual is like trying to be, and all of her individuals, all of her protagonists are extremely strong, but the machine is always stronger. And I saw my sister, I'm not saying she broke, but I saw that it's like, the intensity of the pressure, the harassment, how lonely it is, how people abandon you. That came across through my interview with E. Jean Carroll. Like I don't know, you'll hear it. I'm sure you'll hear it, but she just talks about like, she said very blatantly, she's like, women should not stick up. Women, she said it, she said women should not stick their necks out right now, not right now. 'Cause I asked her, like, well, what would you advise women who want to bring cases? Like they're getting sexually harassed. So they was, she's like, don't do it. And I'm like, what? Like I was expecting like girl power, but she was like, you will be utterly alone if you do it. And it's like, I understand, she's right. And so she kept telling me during the interview, after the interview, she's like, I am utterly alone. Women's solidarity, women coming, fuck no. Like she was like salty as fuck. And that's exactly how my sister was, because my sister was abandoned. The Democrats were like on CNN throwing her under the bus. We don't know Alexandra Chalupa. Who's that? Like she was like the coffee girl. Bullshit. When my sister tried to like leave the DNC at one point, like they had somebody rush to get her boss or somebody in the Oval Office meeting with Obama to get her a raise to stay. You know what I mean? Like she was completely thrown under the fucking bus for the DNC with her life at stake. I saw that in E. Jean Carroll completely. Completely. Like I was all like fired up, talking to a living icon, which she is, you know, but the humanity was there. It was very much like an Agnieszka Holland film. That's why I kept thinking, like, these are the movies Agnieszka makes. And that's like the only way I was able to process it in my, because we all look up to each other. We're like, oh, you're all superhuman. And then when we see the humanity, it's like people are, you know, we're human. You know, the reason why we're doing this work is because we're human. And it just takes such a toll on you. And I saw that like it's hard to meet your heroes and just to see the toll their strength, their courage takes, and that and it's like my interview with her was like, oh right, that's right, E. Jean Carroll's a human. So I'm very excited for that, to share that with you. And then also Robert Greenwald, whose work I've admired for a very long time. He's made a million movies from Bush's Iraq war invasions to exposing the corruption of the Walmart family and corporate subsidies, corporate socialism. He made a powerful film looking at the journalists that have been killed in Gaza. It's a massive number of journalists out of like totally unprecedented for wars. Like World War II, Vietnam War, Gaza. Like it's like massive number. And so that film and that interview really put Gaza into sharp focus. And a lot of what I want to say, and I want everyone to come at me hard, okay, because I've got some things to say. I think I'm just going to speak plainly, obviously, but without trying to hurt anyone's feelings. So we all have beautiful, cushy feelings that we have to, you know, cuddle up with and cozy, which I'm all for too. But I'm going to just speak plainly. I'm really disgusted by a type of resistance grifter out there who is working the podcasts, working the YouTube hard, selling their merch, but they're treating it all as though Donald Trump is one man and not a product of an overall system. And it infuriates me because those people are like censor people like me by ignoring me, not having me on. You know, you've got like a massive network and it's like the Trump TV show on all these resistance Trump podcasts. Everything's Trump TV, but no one wants to have me on because I'm gonna like, well, let's talk about our plan on how to Trump-proof democracy, because that's going to be a deeper conversation. And we're going to have a primary come up, and they're not going to want to have those conversations. And I think there's a Sophie's choice that's happening where we're all so freaked the fuck out over the existential crisis of Trump, which is a very real existential crisis. Like he's exploding with money right now, the amount of money that's coming from the Middle East into his crypto and so on. And that's making him infinitely more powerful, right? And like, so we're all like, we've got to stop this demon. And so we're going to just put our differences aside, unite, and not talk about the real issues that we should be talking about, because this is what it comes down to. And I'm telling you this, if we elect just any old Democrat, if we don't have a heartfelt primary of having adult conversations with each other respectfully, with an idea of unity in mind, like let's talk about these things. If you bury them under the rug, that's where everything fractures. And the reason why we need to have that kind of a heartfelt primary is because what is inevitably going to happen is, even if the Democrats get in for 4 years, we're living in times that are so extreme, there's just going to be another swing of the pendulum. Whoever is the incumbent in the days we're living in will always be disadvantaged. That it's because home ownership has never been harder. Entry-level jobs have never been harder. The automation boom that's been taking away blue collar work across this country is now coming for the white collar workers. Okay. So from 2028, we get a Democrat in because America's going to hit rock bottom, and the blue wave tsunami and the independent voters, they're all on our side. We win. It's going to swing right back in 2032. I promise you it will. That's the problem. That is the problem. And the only way you stop that swing is if you have adult conversations with respect and focus on our shared humanity. But what's preventing that is you have certain resistance powerhouses that have captured the resistance. And they're basically nodes of power that other smaller, everybody kind of congregates around. And they set the tone, they set the conversation. So if you're talking about things like Gaza is completely lawless, and we should all be scared about that because international law must be respected everywhere. There should be no exception, and we should not be funding that. Like if you trans people exist, and there's literally a scapegoating genocide against them right now. Like if you have to have these conversations. You have to have these conversations. No one's trying to be a Debbie Downer. No one's trying to create wedge issues, and I just worry that so many resistance podcasts and networks are captured by the consultant class inside the Democratic Party that are in a lot of privileged rooms where it happens, that people like us on the fringes get completely sidelined and the pattern just repeats. Swing, stop the swing. So that's what I'm all about, is stopping that damn swing. You're not going to get there without having heartfelt conversations. So come at me, everyone. Oh, final thing I want to say, about Epstein. So, because I know Julie, I forget her last name, but Julie K. Brown, the great investigative journalist in the Miami Herald, who obviously her reporting brought the big Epstein prosecution. She's coming out against Bannon, rightfully so, saying the reason why Biden, the Democrats, didn't release these Epstein files because Ghislaine Maxwell, her case was ongoing. This was an active investigation. You normally don't release everything you have during an active investigation. The FBI, the DOJ could not do that because they would tip off a lot of guilty parties. And that's absolutely fair. And that makes total sense. But the problem is a lot of resistance voices are jumping on that to defend Biden and the Democrats and say, see, this is why for 4 years, when the Democrats were the power, they didn't say anything about Epstein and Trump. They had to have the higher ground and honor these norms. Absolutely agree with that to an extent. When the Mueller-Trump investigation was happening, the Democrats had no problem hitting up cable news, coming to speak at my protest that I did with a bunch of strangers I met on Twitter. The March for Truth, demanding transparency in the Trump-Russia investigation. We had members of Congress at our rallies. So when it came to Trump and Russia, members of Congress were front and center and speaking out during an active investigation. Why didn't they do that when it came to Trump and Epstein? And we are seeing now it's because their own, including Larry Summers, who's central to the Democratic Party establishment. He is an economic advisor right now to the Center for American Progress for their answer to Trump's Project 2025, which is the Democrats' Project 2029. Larry Summers is currently, as far as I can tell, there hasn't been any breaking news that he's been forced to resign from it, but the Center for American Progress is currently working with him. He was Obama's economic advisor. He was too big. He was Mr. Too Big to Fail. And so the Democratic Party establishment treated people like Larry Summers as too big to fail. And that's another reason why they didn't touch this, because they understood the massive fallout that would come. And they also couldn't control it. I can tell you from watching my own sister's ordeal with the DNC, they hated my sister at a certain point. They offered her job back when Biden came back in 2021, right? When Biden became president. They didn't hate her, but they feared her because they couldn't control her. They wanted her to sign an NDA before they would allow her to talk to the FBI about what she knew about Trump and Russia, and she refused. And because the Democratic Party establishment could not control her, they feared her. And they didn't know what to do with her, so they acted like they didn't know her at a certain point on cable news. So I think the Democrats also understood they couldn't control this if Trump and Epstein, everything got out. And they could have gotten this all out from, again, the Epstein estate. The Epstein estate. And it took Ro Khanna stumbling upon a segment on Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC to realize from one of their guests that they could have gotten everything they wanted from the Epstein estate. Why didn't they do that years sooner? I'm not saying all this, again, to be super cool, because I know it's like the cool thing to do to shit on the Democrats, and it's so easy. I'm saying all this because we need to elect better Democrats. And if we don't elect better Democrats, we're going to get a big old swing when we're in power. And we're going to keep swinging back between the Christian nationalists and the bad Democrats. It's just going to keep swinging. And so that's my larger point. You guys can just say whatever you want, and I will hold space for you to say it. And so I will stop talking now. So I see a bunch of hands raised.